Hi everyone. On this episode, we are going to kind of discuss what's going to happen in this next chapter. And that is going to be, we're going to be using these two old laptops to set up a Kubernetes cluster on. This one here is going to be the master node, and this is going to be the worker node. And this one's just a little less capable in terms of CPU and memory, and then this one here is going to be a little bit more capable in that sense, where we're going to run our containers, our jobs on the worker node because it can handle it. So we're going to do a little bit of setup, and the first episode after this introduction is probably going to be getting a Linux distro set up on these. They're both running Windows 10, I believe. So we're going to switch that over to, in this case, probably Ubuntu server. And that's just because I'm familiar with it and I set up my other system that way. So I don't want to change too much up, but it's not as lightweight as I would like it to be, but we're gonna roll with it anyways, and it should be capable of running our web app. So that will be the next episode, and yeah, excited to work on this. So as an update, I have now put Ubuntu server on both of these laptops. As you can see, this one's just a bit older, kind of gross, but hey, it works. And same with this one, just a bit older. This one's gonna be the worker node. It has better memory and a little bit better CPU. This one, I'm not even quite sure what it has, but we're hoping to use this one just for doing the management, and this one actually running jobs and things like that. So next we're going to jump over to mRemote and be able to use them from there and not actually have to do anything on these computers. So see you in the next video. Hi everyone. So in this part, we are going to go over what tools we're going to need. And for now, we are back on the development machine we set up, and we're going to download a tool, one of the tools we're going to be using, which is mRemote NG, and this is a free open source tool for, RDP, SSH. We're going to use that to SSH into those laptops. So we can now just go back to this machine. Once we got those set up, we're good. We shouldn't have to touch them again, hopefully. So this is one of the tools that we need to download. And there's just the stable version. So we'll download that, get that set up. And what we're going to need also is, I'm going to provide this, but we're not going to download this necessarily, but here is the Kubernetes documentation. It's a lot. So, getting started is great. I'm going to hopefully be able to get you guys just a starting environment so you can get your feet wet and kind of just see what Kubernetes can do and how you can use it at a low level. So that's the goal for this chapter, and let's get started. Okay, let's kind of go over what we're attempting to do with Kubernetes here. So before we get started, on the actual implementation, let's kind of just take a look at the overview here. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to create a control plane. This is really what's going to be managing our nodes. So we can add as many nodes as possible, and a control plane will basically be managing what jobs get sent to these nodes, how to either scale them up, scale them down, maybe needs to go to add jobs to another node or scale up other jobs depending on if there's relationships between these pods and things like that. So really the control plane is like the brain of this Kubernetes cluster. So the cluster involves the control plane and any nodes that you're adding. So what we're going to do is, like I mentioned before, we're going to create a control plane out of one of the laptops, and then we're going to have a worker node I like calling these nodes probably the worker nodes. And we're going to have one worker node, and we're going to kind of get those set up, and so you can play around with it and just get comfortable using Kubernetes, because it seems like a magic word when you first hear about it, but in reality, it's technology. It's something that you need to get in, play around with, and start to realize it's not magic as much as it's an awesome tool that you can work with and possibly use in your current job or at home or just to mess around with. So let's get into it. So we're going to work on building our control plane first. So what I've done in mRemote is I've added these two connections here. What you can do is you can add connections here. You can name them and then apply whatever the connection name is, and then your protocol, which in this case SSH. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the master node. And what I'm going to do is I've taken a look at the documentation previously, and it can be a little hectic to look at and really get comfortable looking at, okay, I have to know container runtimes, container environments, services, networking. I've kind of got it down to a point where we're going to be making something small just to test. So for the time being, we're not going to do anything too crazy with with these components and doing scheduling and all this stuff. We're going to mostly just create a worker node that can host a web app, and we can see it from an end user point of view. That's our goal. We're going to try and get our minimum viable product out of that, and go from there. So we're trying to get something to work as quickly as possible and in a conceptual way where we can actually see what's going on, understand the underlying aspect of it, and then build from there. So let's go to our master node, and let me pull up the starting scripts that I've created. I'll provide these in the GitHub and a link to them in the video. Okay, so using these scripts in the GitHub, we're going to start with doing swap off. That needs to always be off. All right, there we go. And then let's do Dockers. I might work on these scripts to make it easier to run just the whole thing, but this was the fastest way to kind of get it done. So and that. All right, so that should set up the node. And we're going to do the same here. I'm going to make a skip here for the worker node, and then we'll go to the control plane, finishing that setup. So we'll make sure we're on the master node, and what we're going to do is we're going to do this. We're going to do kubeadm init. We're going to make sure we're on this pod network cider. I do have another Kubernetes cluster running, so hopefully this will not interfere, but we'll see. So that's going to take a little bit. So in the notes, the flannel is requiring a specific address set, and networking is a weak point of mine, so anyone that's a network engineer probably will see some of this stuff and question why I did some of this stuff, but we're just trying to make it work. So hopefully we can get this working. Okay, cool. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Control plane initialized successfully. Awesome. That's what we want to see. And run the following as a regular user. So we're going to take our notepad real quick. And let's drop this here. We're going to grab this cube ADM join here. We'll take that. Oop. We'll paste that here. We'll get out of there. Actually. Okay, and then we're going to grab this. That finished up successfully. We save that line here. We are going to do the make here. Copy. Let's do this. Okay, awesome. And then let's do the flannel, which will help fix up basically this application of flannel is something we can do. And now this will help us join our networks, basically, our nodes together. Make sure they're accessible. So let's check out our I like ChatGPT for this too, and this is kind of what's helped me out, if I'm being honest, with a lot of things. Ooh, that's not good. So now that we have those initial scripts ran, to kind of get into what we're using. So kubelet is what's running it, and kubectl is what is going to be able to grab some things for us. So we can kubectl get pods, or kubectl get node. And we see that this is our node. It's in a status ready. So you'll come here and you'll kind of get used to seeing, all right, you can see the ready status, role, age. You can get a quick overview of what's going on. And I think we should be able to kubectl describe pods under a and this is where I like to use some ChatGPT to help me out with figuring out my, let's ask ChatGPT, get pods in a node, kubectl. What we're gonna do is, I like this one where we have boom, and then instead of node name, we're going to do our node name is SL1. And as you can see, we have our flannel, our system, core DNS. I'm not sure, you have your scheduler, you have some things set up, and you remember that other Kubernetes kind of breakdown. I won't get too much into these for this video. We'll probably go back in and investigate and do some things, but just for now, know that this is up and running. It's good to see a status of running on all these, and then if you want to make sure your node looks good, get node, get nodes, and then let's mount our worker node. Let's actually get our worker node set up here. So what we're gonna do is back here on this other one, let's do kubeadm join, I believe. And we're gonna join it. And let's see. User's not, so sudo get nodes. Okay, so this node has joined the cluster. So let's make sure we can actually see that. Not ready. Okay, so we joined, but it is not ready at this point in time. So let's go and see our let's do system sudo system ctl restart kubelet. And then let's do, I don't think I've actually done the status on here. And some of this stuff, if you're wondering what I'm doing, is doing Control R, and I can go back and look through what I've done. Okay, cool. So now it looks like it's up and running. So let's go check our master node and let's retry that. Okay, so now it's in the status of ready, which is awesome. You always want to see a status of ready. So I guess after you're doing that, after you do the join, I'll make a better mention of this in the scripts here. But you want to do and let me make a note of that while I'm in here. Okay, so we're going to do here, and then we're going to restart. So basically whatever you're getting from the initial ADM, cube ADM, and I think there's another way you can grab that same code. Let's say you clear and you need to go and find that again. There's another way you can grab this cube ADM script. So now what we're going to do is we're going to try and get some kind of role set here. And we're going to try and get our web app containerized and hosted here so that we can eventually get DNS set up and be able to navigate there from the World Wide Web.